Let's jump right in. Have you ever just stared up at a towering, beautiful green plant and wondered what kind of ancient secrets it's hiding? Welcome to today's Explainer. We are totally reframing how you might normally think about the hop plant. Instead of looking at it as just a standard commercial farming crop, we're going on a journey from your everyday garden straight to an apothecary. I'm going to show you exactly how to plant, grow, and harvest this incredible plant purely for your own health and wellness.
So are you struggling to get a good night's rest? Trust me, you are absolutely not alone in that. So many of us are dealing with daily stress, anxiety, and, those restless nights where your brain just won't shut off. We're always on the hunt for ways to unwind. But what if I told you that a highly effective, deeply soothing remedy could literally be growing right in your own backyard?
That brings us to hops. Scientifically, it's known as Humulus lupulus, and the history here is just absolutely fascinating. Long before modern medicine was even a thing, traditional healers and herbalists relied heavily on the hop plant to promote deep sleep, ease anxiety, and even help out with digestion. And here's a fun fact, it's actually a bine, not a vine. That's because it uses its entire main stem to wrap around its support. This vigorous plant produces these remarkable little cones that are just packed with therapeutic power.
Now you might be wondering, what exactly makes these little cones so powerful? Well, the secret lies in a substance called lupulin. If you were to take a mature hop cone and split it right down the middle, you'd see this thick, yellow, powdery substance inside. This golden powder is literally the medicinal powerhouse of the plant. It's loaded with a rich blend of calming essential oils and alpha acids that act as natural sedatives. When you harvest it correctly, this lupulin is absolutely perfect for brewing up a calming herbal tea or stuffing a soothing sleep pillow to rest your head on at night.
All right, let's move into Section 1, Preparing Your Wellness Garden.
Because hops are such vigorous growers, setting up the perfect environment is totally crucial. And like any good herbal medicine garden, it all starts with the soil. Hops have this incredibly deep root system, like we're talking roots that can actually reach 15 feet down or more. Because of that, they absolutely require rich, well-drained, deep, loamy soils. You really want to avoid poorly drained soil, because that's just a one-way ticket to root rot. So you should definitely test your soil before planting to make sure your pH is right in that sweet spot, somewhere between 6.0 and 6.5.
Another thing to keep in mind is that these plants literally have a need to climb. When you're picking a spot in your yard, you want southern exposure to catch maximum sunshine. But honestly, vertical space is just as important. These vines can rocket up 20 feet or more in a single season. Crazy, right? You don't necessarily need some massive commercial setup, but you will definitely need a sturdy trellis system, some strong cable, or even a tall wall with heavy fibrous rope like coconut husk coir for the vines to wrap themselves around.
Moving on to Section 2. The therapeutic act of growing.
Before we even discuss the harvest, it's worth noting that just the act of nurturing a plant is a wellness practice all on its own. Getting outside, getting your hands dirty, and working the soil is incredibly grounding. To get started, you'll need what's called a rhizome. Basically, it's a root cutting from a mature main crown, which guarantees your new plant is an exact clone of the parent. When you get your rhizomes, usually in early spring, you've got to treat them with care. Keep them in the fridge inside a Ziploc bag with a slightly damp paper towel. That'll keep them perfectly moist until the threat of a hard freeze is completely gone.
Okay, so once the soil is workable and you start seeing those early spring flowers popping up, it's planting time. First, dig down about 1 foot and mix in some compost or organic slow-release fertilizer. Second, lay that rhizome horizontally just about 1 inch below the surface of the soil. Make sure any of those little white buds are pointing straight upward. And finally, if you're planting a few different varieties for your home apothecary, space them about 5 feet apart. You really don't want them getting all tangled up as they race toward the sky.
Now we get into the mindful daily routine of it all. In their first year, these hops have pretty small root systems, so they're going to need frequent, short waterings. Putting down some fresh straw mulch around the base really helps lock in that vital moisture. Once the vines hit about 3 feet long, you'll want to pick the hardiest 2 or 3 and gently train them by wrapping them by hand around your trellis string. And get this, you actually have to train them clockwise. In the northern hemisphere, hop vines naturally wrap clockwise because they follow the sun as it travels from east to west. It's just a really beautiful, natural rhythm to observe.
All right, let's head into Section 3, Harvesting for Peak Potency.
Fast forward to late summer, usually around August or September. Your vines have hit the top of the trellis and they are absolutely loaded with cones. Timing your harvest perfectly here is super critical to capture those calming essential oils. And you can actually use all of your senses to check if they're right. Visually, tear a cone in half. You want to see shiny golden acorn-shaped lupulin glands.
Smell it? It should have a pungent aroma of fresh grass, not raw green vegetation. Squeeze it right by your ear. A ripe cone sounds kind of like a cricket or a baby rattle. And by touch, it shouldn't stay squished when you press it. It needs to feel springy, dry, and slightly papery.
Now, those sensory checks are awesome, but you can also use an objective method if you want to be 100% certain. You can calculate the dry matter. Basically, take a 10-gram sample of cones, zap them in the microwave in 45-second increments, and weigh them as they cool down in between. Once the weight stops dropping, boom, you've found your dry weight. For the absolute best medicinal potency and essential oil content, you're looking for the cones to hit between 21 and 27% dry matter before you go ahead and harvest the whole yard.
When it is finally time to harvest, drop your trellis down to the ground. Cut the bines, but, and this is super important, make sure to leave the bottom 3 feet of the plant attached to the ground. Why? Because the remaining nutrients in that vine need to travel back down to the root crown so it can sustain itself through the winter. After that, you can just sit back in the shade and handpick the cones. Quick tip though, definitely wear long sleeves and gloves. The vines have these tiny hooked hairs to help them climb, and they will easily irritate bare skin.
That brings us to Section 4, preserving your herbal remedies.
The literal moment a hop cone is picked from the vine, it starts to degrade. So protecting those delicate, sleep-inducing compounds is our final, vital phase. Unless you're brewing a fresh herbal tea right that second, you need to dry them out. The best low-heat method is to spread the cones out in a shallow layer on a clean window screen in a warm, dry spot. You gotta keep them entirely out of direct sunlight because UV rays will destroy the oils. Fluff the pile every day. You'll know they're perfectly dry when you can bend the inner stem of a cone and it snaps cleanly in half instead of just folding. If you absolutely must use a food dehydrator, make sure the temp never goes above 140 degrees or you'll ruin the plant's therapeutic properties.
The final enemy of your holistic harvest? Oxygen. To store your dried hops properly, you need to pack them as tightly as you can into Ziploc freezer bags. Squeeze out every last bit of air you possibly can to keep that valuable lupulin from oxidizing and turning rancid. Then just pop those bags straight into the freezer. Stored like this, your natural sleep remedy is going to stay potent and ready for you whenever you need it throughout the entire year.
So, to bring this whole journey together, adding hops to your backyard homestead or garden is literally an incredible way to boost your wellness routine. It is full-circle holistic health. Think about it. You get the physical exercise and mental grounding of building a trellis and tending the soil, plus the profound reward of harvesting a potent, all-natural remedy to support your body and mind.
I'm going to leave you with this one final thought. You now have the exact blueprint to cultivate one of history's greatest calming herbs right outside your back door. So how will you transform your backyard into a natural medicine cabinet? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and happy growing.